Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhaizah binti Muhammad Kifli, metric number 046350. So with regard to the issue of armed conflict in Syria is non-international or internationalized. Basically, it is started with non-international armed conflict at first, but as the military intervention from the United States take place without the consent of the Syrian government, then that is the starting point of bringing it to an international armed conflict issue in Syria. On the other hand, in 2017, the US has repeatedly targeted Syrian government position. Surprisingly, not only US tried to intervene, but the involvements of other state actors that lead to Syrian armed conflict to be internationalized are Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. This can be seen as a solid proof of stating that the armed conflict happened in Syria was internationalized. Moving on to the Syrian armed conflict, is they are protected under international humanitarian law or not? According to International Committee of the Red Cross (ICRC), all parties involved in the Syrian conflict have carried out extensive violation of international humanitarian law and human rights law. In particular, all parties are guilty of targeting civilians. Rape and sexual violence has been widely used as a weapon of war, notably by the government itself, the Islamic State of Iraq, and the Levant ISIL, and not to forget the extremist groups.
Hello, my name is Shanira Naranius, metric number 046763. So today I'm going to talk about the factor that leads to the Syria war, which is the involvement of United States in Syrian war. So the main reason of the involvement of United States in Syrian war is because of the apparent use of chemical weapons by Assad, who is the president of Syria, outside the Syrian capital Damascus in 21st August 2013. The US has blamed the Syrian government forces for the death of hundreds of civilians in the attack. Accusation strongly denied by the Syrian. Instead, the international community pushed a diplomatic solution. The United Nations Security Council ordered Assad to destroy his chemical weapons stockpile and sign the Chemical Weapons Convention that prohibits countries from producing, stockpiling, or using chemical weapons. Next, second chemical attack apparently took place on 4th April 2017 in Khan Sheikhoun, where 80 people died and hundreds suffered symptoms consistent with being exposed to nerve gas. In retaliation, the US President Trump ordered an attack on Syrian airfield, where military sources suspected that the nerve gas had been launched. In early 2018, President Trump called for an expedited withdrawal of US forces from Syria. However, senior administration officials later stated that United States personnel would remain in Syria to ensure the enduring defeat of the Islamic State. In December 2018, President Trump ordered the withdrawal of all United States troops or forces from Syria. In early 2019, the White House announced that several hundred of US troops would remain in Syria. So the above mentioned are the factors that leads to the involvement of United States in Syrian conflict. So in my opinion, this can be considered as the Syrian war is an internationalized conflict because of the involvement of United States and many other countries. So the other countries will be explained more by my friends. So that's all from me. Thank you.
My metric number is 047487. So our question is whether the Syrian war is international or national war. Basically, in our opinion, the Syrian war is international war because there are other foreign involvement in this war, such as United States, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Russia. So I'm going to talk about the Russian involvement in this Syrian war. So basically, Russia and Syria has a long ongoing relationship with one another. And since the beginning of Syrian war in 2011. However, in 2015, Russia has a direct military involvement in this war. So on July 2015, President of Syria, President Bashar al-Assad, requested to Russia to send military in this Syrian war because for President Bashar al-Assad, it was to combat the international terrorism, which were coming from ISIS and rebels in Syria. So on August 2015, Russia did send warplane to help Syria, and on September 2015, Russia sent Russian air forces in helping Syria because based on President Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, he stated that it was to stabilize the legitimate power in Syria. We could say that this Russian involvement in Syria was to protect the naval base of Russia in Syria. So on September 2015, Russia started to do an air and missile strikes targeting the ISIS and rebels, where the ISIS and rebels were on the area. Plus, Russia also supported by giving disarmament towards Turkey and Syria to combat the ISIS and rebels. So there are some critics stated that this Russian action was basically lead to conduct of hostilities because Russia purposely targeted the hospital and medical facilities in Syria, and also it also conducted to hostilities because thousands of people died in this regarding the Russian action. So I could say that this Russian action is basically against the international humanitarian law because as a major power, Russia shouldn't attack these hospital and medical facilities because it is where the people of wounded get treated, no matter civilians or army. Furthermore, I could say that the conduct of hostilities in Russia led to a great casualties because thousands of people died due to Russian action, whereby it can be
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Nurbella Ayu binti Muhammad Shukri, metric number 046372. Alright, as we all aware that Syria's complex and devastating civil war has drawn in multiple foreign powers such as Iran, US, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and also Turkey since it broke out in 2011. So I am here today just to tell about the Iran's involvement in the Syrian conflict. So I will take three parts of the Iran involvement in the conflict. Okay, the first part is who Iran support in the Syria conflict. Iran and Syria uh, are close strategic allies. So Tehran has supported Assad government since at least 2012 by giving the regime extensive military aid in the form of training, weapons, and intelligence sharing. It is estimated that the number of Iranian personnel in Syria range from hundreds to tens of thousands. Iran also deployed Iran's elite military force, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps (IRGC), and the Shiite militias from across the region. Iran ally Hezbollah, also a major backer of the Assad regime since 2012. From the summer of 2013, Iran and Hezbollah provided important battlefield support for Assad, allowing it to make an advance on the opposition. Okay, the second part is who Iran's fighting against. Iran has directly and indirectly been fighting against the moderate and extremist faction in the Syrian opposition as well as the IS. Okay, the third part is what Iran won from the Syria conflict. Syria has long been Iran's chief ally in the Middle East, propping up Assad, ensure an ally against Iran's regional rival, which is Saudi Arabia and Israel. Tehran also needs Syria to transport weapons to the Hezbollah, which also oppose Israel in neighboring Lebanon. Iran's larger goal is to create a land corridor extending from Iran to Lebanon through Iraq and Syria.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Salmah binti Mamadi. My matric number 047316. Okay, so for today, I'm going to talk about whether the conflict that happened in Syria is considered as international or non-internationalized conflict. Okay, first of all, I would like to say that yes, I am clear that the conflict that happened in the country is considered as internationalized conflict because, as my friends stated before, the conflict involved many countries such as Russia, United States, and Turkey also. Okay, for my point, I would like to say that Saudi Arabia is also one of the countries that involved in the conflict. Okay. Saudi Arabia is one of the Arab world's most conservative societies, where power resides in the narrow circle of octogenarian elders of the royal family, backed by a powerful hierarchy of Wahhabi Muslim clergy. Okay, the involvement of Saudi Arabia in the conflict involved the large-scale supply of weapons and ammunition to various rebel groups in Syria during the Syrian Civil War. Okay, it was Saudi Arabia King, which is King Abdullah, who was the first Arab leader to condemn the Assad government in August 2011 due to its method to deal with the anti-government demonstration. Okay. And as a result of these events, Saudi Arabia withdrew its delegation from Arab League's peacekeeping mission in Syria on 22nd January 2012 and closed its embassy in Damascus in February, as well as also expelled Syrian ambassador. And King Abdullah was also the first Arab leader to call openly for arming the Syrian opposition. Then, according to Financial Times reported in May 2013, that Qatar was becoming a larger provider of arms to the various groups. Since the summer of 2013, Saudi Arabia has emerged as the main group to finance and arm the rebel, and Arab Saudi has financed a large purchase of infantry weapons such as Yugoslav-made recoiling guns and the M79 OSA, which is an anti-tank weapons from Croatia, where shipments shuttled through Jordan. Okay, and the weapon began reaching rebels in December 2013. In December 2012, which allowed rebels small tactical gains against the Syrian army, and the shipment was said to be to counter shipments of weapons from Iran to aid the Syrian government. Okay, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Qatar have received criticism from the Western media because they backing certain Syrian rebels associated with the Army of Conquest, which includes the Al-Nusra Front and Al-Qaeda affiliated group. Okay. And in August 2017, the Syrian opposition was informed by the Saudi foreign minister that their kingdom was disengaging from them, and subsequently Saudi Arabia has taken a more conciliatory stance towards the Syrian government. So, in my opinion, I would like to say that the conflict that happened in Syria, especially the Syrian civil war, is considered as the internationalized armed conflict because the conflict involved many countries, such as I stated before, like United States, Russia, Turkey, and also Saudi Arabia. So that's all from me. Thank you.
My name is Aidil Aizisha bin Zulkifli. My number matric 04047149. So, our assessment is about Syrian armed conflict, and my turn is to explain about Turkey involvement in Syria war. So, let's begin. The war in Syria is chaotic. After 6 years, the conflict was divided between four blocks, each with the support of their external power. All of these external forces do not agree with each other in terms of agree, who they are at war with, and with whom they are. Today, the use of chemical weapons on the public has provoked US President Donald Trump to attack Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Last July, the Pentagon, which United States, launched its own program to train insurgents, this time more specifically to train those who want to fight the Bashar al-Assad. For example, like FSA, Free Syrian Army. The program showed that the US is now more against ISIS than Assad. In August 2015, Turkey began bombing the Kurdish militant in Iraq and in Turkey. Although the Kurdish militant fought against ISIS in Syria, and the Turkey did not act to bomb ISIS. Okay, look, US attacked ISIS and allies of US, which Turkey did not bomb ISIS. This brings even greater problem to the Syrian conflict, with the US sees ISIS as its main enemy, but US allies like Turkey and some Middle East countries have their own priorities. My My opinion, uh, what I my opinion about this, what is the own priorities is, for example, we can look in the election on the Turkish. In any action taken by the Turkish government will determine the stability of the Turkish state with the presence of Kurdish autonomy in Syria. In history, Turkey has gained more than 10% in the recent Turkish parliamentary election. So, it shows that Kurdish have their own power and can have a huge impact on the Turkish political landscape. The Kurdish people in Turkey have also called on the Turkish government to take appro- appropriate action to have their Kurdish relatives being killed by ISIS in Kobani, located on the Turkish-Syria border. Turkey also wants to curb ISIS operation on the Turkish-Syria border. Turkey Prime Minister which Ahmed Davutoglu has recently announced that they will not involve in the war in Syria. With the rise of the PYD and the YPG, for your information, PYD and the YPG is the collaboration military from Turkey and the Kurdish. Escape could be halted and ISIS retreated to Raqqa 100 meters from the city of Kobani. So that's put the Turkey had no choice but to hope that the Kurdish movement could block ISIS from advising to the Turkish border and provide assistance to Kurdish fighters along the Syro-Turkish border. Turkey has now developed its troops with artillery and ammunition along the Turkish border near the city of Kilis, Syria. So, in conclusion, what I can say that the result in some unclear and misleading alliance a month later, in September 2015, Russia tried to intervene on behalf of Assad, sending a number of fighter jets to its military base in Syria. Tension about this problem between these two countries. At least four Turkish soldiers were killed and nine others injured in an attack on Syrian government force in Idlib province today. The airstrike also killed nine civilians in the same area, according to the US-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. The attack began with the Syrian regime firing on the Turkish position in Idlib. Turkish President Erdogan, Tayyip Erdogan, say, said the Syrian attack was retaliated and he was targeting President Bashar al-Assad regime as they attacked Ankara's army. While Erdogan said, "We cannot stay still." In response, "We will punish all those responsible for attack on our troops. Our air defense and warship carry out their operation." Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Faris Hakimi bin Yahya with metric number 047236. So, based on the previous presenters from my colleagues, we can conclude that the Syria's armed conflict is an internationalized armed conflict due to the fact that lots of foreign powers like United States, Russia, Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia have involved directly and indirectly in Syria's armed conflicts. These foreign powers' involvement have created lots of humanitarian crises, including violation of international humanitarian law. An analysis shows a range of international humanitarian law violations in 14 categories, including attacks against civilians, attacks against protected objects, and use of prohibited weapons, including incendiary and chemical ones, unprecedented, unprecedented in recent wars in both scale and intensity. There is a pattern of repeated targeting and intentionality to shut down healthcare. Siege practices evolve from surrender to live to surrender or die, along with obstruction of aid and medical evacuation. And this Syrian war have given impacts towards the Syrian civilians, and lots of people have displaced from their homes. Every parties, every major foreign powers should not interfere in Syrian war because because of them lots of people suffer, and the role of international community is very crucial and essential in order to stop the conflict and to create conditions for sustainable peace and harmony in Syria. And moreover, international community will have to make a serious efforts to resolve the crisis because the consequences for the country are becoming more serious every day as thousands of people are suffering, and every party, including the Syrian government, the foreign powers US, Russia, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Iran, should make a stop to the conflict. Thank you.